The sound of the television was blaring, but Alan wasn't responding. Not to the show, not to his wife calling his name, not to the knock at the door. He sat still in his chair, his hand gently tapping the armrest, as if still pretending to be present. But his eyes were lost. It wasn't like him. 3 years earlier, he was sharp. He read the newspaper every morning. He remembered every birthday, every great-grandchild's name. He was the neighborhood's go-to handyman, always eager to lend a wrench or advice. But then something changed. It didn't begin with memory lapses. It began with, "Can you repeat that? Speak up." What? It began with Alan pretending to hear, nodding along in conversations, laughing half a second too late at jokes he didn't actually hear. No one thought it was serious, until the day he looked his daughter in the eyes and called her by the wrong name. That was when the fear set in. Most people believe that dementia starts with forgetfulness, that it creeps in slowly, lost keys, misplaced words, a forgotten appointment. But research shows something different. One of the earliest signs may not be memory loss at all. It may be hearing loss, a quiet, creeping disconnection from the world, one that starts with missed sounds and ends with missed moments. And yet almost no one talks about it. In 2020, a landmark report by the Lancet Commission on Dementia Prevention identified hearing loss as the largest modifiable risk factor for dementia. Larger than smoking, larger than obesity, larger than high blood pressure. If hearing loss is addressed early, the risk of developing dementia may drop by as much as 9%. Lancet Commission on Dementia, 2020. But ask your average primary care physician. Most won't mention it. Most patients never get tested. And by the time memory loss is visible, it's often too late. In 2011, Dr. Frank Lin, a researcher at Johns Hopkins University, followed 639 seniors for 12 years. At the beginning, all participants had normal brain function, but varying degrees of hearing loss. Here's what he found. Mild hearing loss doubled the risk of dementia. Moderate hearing loss tripled it. Severe hearing loss made it 5 times more likely. These weren't people with advanced Alzheimer's. They were just older adults, slowly losing their hearing. Dr. Lin's conclusion? Hearing loss should no longer be seen as a harmless inconvenience. It's a serious public health concern. And yet, it remains one of the most ignored and undertreated medical issues in the senior population. Why? Because the symptoms are subtle, because the stigma is real, and because hearing loss doesn't hurt until it hurts everything else. To understand the danger, you have to understand how the brain processes sound. When we hear someone speak, sound waves travel through the ear and are converted into electrical signals. These signals are sent to the brain, particularly the auditory cortex, prefrontal cortex, and hippocampus. These areas are responsible not just for hearing, but for language comprehension, memory, and decision-making. So when the ears stop sending clear signals, the brain goes into overdrive, cognitive overload. When hearing is impaired, the brain must work harder to fill in the gaps. It diverts energy from memory and reasoning to basic comprehension. Over time, this rewiring leads to a reduction in overall brain efficiency. Accelerated atrophy studies using MRI imaging show that older adults with hearing loss experience faster rates of brain shrinkage, particularly in the areas responsible for memory, social withdrawal. When people can't hear well, they often avoid social interaction. Over time, this isolation leads to depression, cognitive stagnation, and increased risk of dementia. It's not just that hearing loss causes isolation. It causes the brain to be understimulated, and an understimulated brain begins to fade. Margaret was 69 when her younger brother James started acting strangely. He'd always been quick-witted. He was the family trivia king, unbeatable on game night. But lately he seemed distracted. Margaret noticed James would drift off during conversations. He'd ask her to repeat herself multiple times. At first she thought it was just aging. or maybe grief after losing his wife. Until one day at a family BBQ, James loudly responded to a question no one had asked him. That's when Margaret knew. She scheduled a hearing test for him without saying a word. The results? Severe bilateral hearing loss. 3 weeks later, with hearing aids in place, James was back. He laughed at jokes again. He answered the right questions. He even won game night. But more than that, his cognitive scores improved. Tests he had failed before now showed normal memory retention. It wasn't that my brother was fading, Margaret said. He was just slowly being sealed off from the world. So why isn't this everywhere? Why aren't seniors being routinely tested? Because hearing loss doesn't make anyone money, at least not in the same way memory drugs do. Big Pharma. The average cost of dementia medication is $2,000, $4,000 per year. But a one-time hearing aid, it doesn't create recurring profits. So pharmaceutical marketing doesn't promote it. Insurance gaps. In the US, Medicare doesn't cover hearing aids for most seniors. Neither do many private plans. Hearing care is treated as optional, even though it could prevent tens of thousands of dementia cases. The stigma of aging seniors are reluctant to admit they can't hear. Hearing aids are still seen by many as a sign of decline. The result? Denial, delay, decline. By the time people seek help, their brains have already begun to change. It's not just a medical failure, it's a cultural one. While hearing loss is often considered permanent, researchers are uncovering ways to slow, halt, and sometimes partially reverse hearing decline, especially if caught early. Let's explore what seniors and caregivers can start doing today. 1. Protect the cochlea with antioxidants. Inside your inner ear sits the cochlea, a snail-shaped structure filled with delicate hair cells that convert sound into nerve signals. These cells are extremely vulnerable to oxidative stress. Foods high in antioxidants can help protect them. Blueberries, spinach, kale, dark chocolate in moderation, green tea. Research from the University of Michigan found that antioxidant-rich diets reduced cochlear cell death in aging mice by over 30%. And while human studies are ongoing, the evidence is promising. Your ears age just like your eyes. But unlike glasses, there's no easy fix unless you feed them well. 2. Hydration and ear health. The fluid in your inner ear helps with balance and hearing clarity. When you're dehydrated, this fluid becomes imbalanced. The ear becomes more vulnerable to pressure damage. Tinnitus symptoms often worsen. Aim for 8+ glasses of water a day, coconut water or cucumber water for electrolyte support. Limit caffeine and alcohol, which dehydrate. 3. Sound therapy, reawakening neural pathways. European neurologists are exploring something remarkable: sound stimulation as neural rehab. Think of your hearing like a muscle. If you stop stimulating it, it atrophies. But if you feed it gently, especially with certain frequencies, it can rebuild lost connections. Try this. Daily 20-minute sessions of gentle ambient noise, rainfall, Tibetan singing bowls, birdsong, binaural beats in the alpha or theta range for cognition. Avoid total silence. Your brain needs healthy stimulation. The brain doesn't just hear sound, it dances with it. 4. Circulation boosters. Poor blood flow is a silent killer, not just of memory, but of hearing. The tiny capillaries that feed your cochlea are so small, they can become blocked with even minor inflammation. Improve this with ginger tea, 2x daily, turmeric plus black pepper capsules, garlic and cayenne pepper in meals. These are natural vasodilators. They widen the blood vessels, improve circulation, and bring oxygen back to brain and ear tissues. 5. Movement, the forgotten brain supplement. A study from the University of British Columbia found that walking just 3x a week improves auditory processing in seniors. Why? Because exercise, increases oxygen to the brain and ears, improves mood and motivation, delays hippocampal atrophy. Start small, 10 minutes a day, indoors if needed. Pair with sound therapy for dual stimulation. Gradually increase to 30-45 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week. Most people think loud music is the main culprit, but for seniors, there are less obvious threats. Chronic earwax buildup, often misdiagnosed as early hearing loss, can cause pressure, balance issues, and even memory fog. Get ears cleaned professionally, not with cotton swabs. Ototoxic medications, over 200 medications, can damage hearing. Common offenders: certain antibiotics, high-dose aspirin, diuretics, some cancer drugs. Always ask your doctor, is this medication ototoxic? Blood sugar spikes, yes. Hearing is vascularly linked to diabetes. High glucose levels damage the blood vessels in the inner ear. In fact, seniors with poorly managed diabetes have twice the rate of hearing loss. Solution? Balanced meals, slow carbs like oats, sweet potatoes, cinnamon for blood sugar control, daily walking, again. Beyond science, there's something deeper, something heavier. Seniors stop speaking. They stop attending events. They avoid restaurants. They nod to avoid shame. Over time, hearing loss can lead to depression, loneliness, resentment from family members who feel ignored, misdiagnosed dementia in doctors' offices. Nora was 84, sharp, vibrant, and witty. But as her hearing declined, her friendships did too. She began missing calls. She avoided book clubs. At dinner parties, she'd smile quietly but say almost nothing. Everyone thought she was tired, or that her mind was going. But she wasn't sick. She was just alone. Her daughter finally intervened. Testing revealed 85% hearing loss. After just 10 days with hearing aids, Nora cried while talking to her grandson. "I didn't realize how quiet the world had become," she said. "I thought the silence was me." The data has been clear for over a decade. So why do most countries still treat hearing care like a luxury? Why are millions of seniors diagnosed with memory loss while no one checks their ears? Let's follow the money. 1. Reimbursement blind spots. In many Western healthcare systems, hearing aids are still not fully covered. In the US, Medicare treats hearing care as optional. This sends a dangerous message. If it's not covered, it must not be essential. The result? Over 65% of seniors with hearing loss don't use hearing aids. The average delay between noticing hearing trouble and seeking help: 7 years. That's 7 years of social withdrawal, brain rewiring, cognitive overload, and memory fading. 2. Doctors aren't trained in hearing loss. Surprisingly, most general practitioners aren't trained to detect early hearing loss, don't know the dementia connection, rarely refer patients for hearing tests unless specifically requested. Compare this to blood pressure or cholesterol, which are automatically monitored every year. Why isn't hearing? 3. Dementia is a billion-dollar business. Pharmaceutical companies invest billions in developing memory drugs, often with limited success. But prevention? It doesn't sell. There's no pill for good hearing, no patent for a better diet, no profits from ear cleaning or sound therapy. We've built an empire treating symptoms, but ignored the root causes. Fortunately, change is beginning, slowly. United Kingdom. NHS now includes hearing assessments in routine over 60 checkups. National campaigns link hearing health to cognitive well-being. Netherlands. Government provides full hearing aid coverage after age 65. Massive public awareness. Push about dementia prevention. Japan. Pioneers in using robot-assisted hearing support in senior homes. Research centers focus on ear-brain training therapies. But the US, Canada, and most of Europe? Still catching up. You can't wait for policy to change. You must take action. Here's a science-backed prevention plan anyone over 60 can follow. Step 1. Annual hearing checkup. Start immediately. Even if you feel fine. Look for audiologists, ENT clinics, or use at-home apps like Mimi. Hearing test, Sonic Cloud, Phonak remote check. Step 2. Track brain function monthly. Use simple tools like Lumosity, Brain HQ, paper and pencil memory games. Don't wait until it's obvious. Step 3. Wear hearing aids proudly. Modern hearing aids are almost invisible, sync with smartphones, auto-adjust to noise levels, boost cognition, confidence, and social engagement. Wearing hearing aids doesn't mean you're old, it means you care about staying present. Step 4. Eat for hearing and brain health. Build every plate with leafy greens, spinach, kale, omega-3s, sardines, flaxseed, walnuts, antioxidants, berries, beets, spices, turmeric, ginger, garlic. Step 5. Daily sound and speech stimulation. Every day, challenge your brain. Listen to podcasts or audiobooks. Repeat speech exercises, many are free on YouTube. Try shadowing. Repeat spoken sentences with a delay. Practice conversations, even with voice assistants like Alexa. Step 6. Don't tolerate quiet spaces. Avoid long periods of total silence. It leads to auditory deactivation. Instead, play soft ambient sounds. Use nature soundscapes at night. Open windows to let in environmental noise. Silence may feel calming, but for seniors, it can be cognitively harmful. Step 7. Advocate for others. If your parent, spouse, or friend avoids conversations, if they zone out or avoid family dinners, if the TV is constantly loud, that's your sign. Help them get tested. Remove the shame. Speak up, even when they can't hear you clearly. Dear Dr. Lin, my name is Frank. I'm 78 years old. I read about your study last year after my wife begged me to get my hearing checked. I had ignored her for years. I thought the problem was memory, or age, or her speaking too softly. But you were right. I had 60% hearing loss in both ears. I got hearing aids. I joined a walking group. I changed my diet. That was 9 months ago. Last week, I had my annual cognitive screening. My scores improved. But more than that, I feel alive again. I don't just hear her now. I understand her. I laugh. I remember. I show up. Thank you for saving the years I still have. Imagine the world going quieter with every passing month. First, the birds, then the wind, then the words your spouse says at dinner, then your name, whispered by a grandchild you can't quite make out. You nod, you smile, but you're not really there. Not because you don't care, but because you can't hear. And no one, not even your doctor, told you that this quiet wasn't harmless. That this quiet might be the early erosion of your identity. That's the truth we face today. Dementia isn't just a disease of forgetting. It's a disease of disconnecting. And hearing loss is the first disconnection. Every missed conversation, every muffled word, every silent dinner, it all builds up like dust on the soul. But here's the good news. You can change it. You can. Get your hearing checked before it's too late. Wear your hearing aids with dignity. Stimulate your ears and your brain every single day. Eat, move, listen, and live in ways that preserve your presence. Protect your mind by protecting your ears. If you love someone over 60, share this video with them. Because the next time they say, "What?" it might not be because they weren't listening. It might be because their brain is asking for help. And if you're over 60, don't wait. This isn't about hearing more. This is about living more, about remembering more, about reconnecting with the parts of yourself that silence tried to erase. Hearing is how we enter the world. A baby knows its mother's voice before anything else. Maybe that's why, in the end, the last sense we lose is also the one that connects us most deeply to being alive. If this video touched you, helped you, or opened your eyes, please Give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more senior health wisdom every week, and share it with someone who needs to hear it, literally. Drop a comment below. Have you noticed hearing changes in yourself or someone you love? Your story could be the one that saves someone else from fading into silence. Stay tuned for our next video, 10 Brain Foods that Seniors over 65 should eat daily, packed with science, real stories, and gentle steps to protect your mind. Because growing older doesn't have to mean growing silent. Not if we listen, and not if we act.